Good night, this is Ivan Romero. Hope you guys enjoy my show I made earlier. I just came back from swimming, by the way. Came back from swimming. Hope you guys enjoy my CFL videos. A lot of people talk about the CFL. Obviously, expose the CFL's American bias, obviously, right, towards the American players. In the fucking Canadian country, it's ridiculous, obviously. Why do you think the CFL really has their American bias? Because they know football's not that popular in Canada. They're trying their best to be the NFL when they're not. I'm like, look, man, you guys will never be the NFL, man. Like, football is just not that popular in Canada. But your league can grow if we make some changes. Obviously. Yeah. And CFL knows will never be the NFL because football is the most popular sport in America. Whereas hockey is the most popular sport in Canada. Football is the second most popular sport in Canada. But like, even though CFL is number 2 after the NHL, there's a huge gap in popularity. Obviously, as millions of fans in Canada tune into the NHL games, CFL peaks at maybe 700,000 people in Canada watching the games. On average, they get like 500,000 viewers on TSN. That's why TSN doesn't really promote the CFL as much as they promote they promote the CFL a lot, but not the way they promote the NHL on TSN in Canada. All they talk about is the NHL. They talk about free agency like Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm saying, with free agency for the CFL, they don't really talk about that. CFL free agency is kept like behind the scenes. Like, the press will interview the coaches when they sign new players and everything, but like, those interviews are on like the team websites and everything, and they write about it on the press, but like the TSN doesn't really talk about it. Obviously, why I think TSN doesn't really talk about it. I think because TSN knows there's not that big of a popularity for football in Canada compared to hockey. Hockey makes TSN way more money. They promote it way more, whereas football doesn't make TSN as much money. Right? What are you eating? I miss shawarma. Just one though. I had my Denny's food. I'm fucking hungry. All I ate was that sandwich. So I decided to eat this shawarma. Really good, by the way. And after I enjoy the show, I'll eat my Denny's food before I go to bed, right? Yeah. Even if football was very popular in Canada, it still wouldn't be the NFL. Because Canada only has like about 50 million people living here, whereas the states that have 300 plus million people living there. So even if Canada was very popular even if football is very popular in Canada, it would never be the NFL. But football is not that popular compared to what? Compared to hockey. Like, everyone in Canada loves hockey. Everyone raves about hockey up here. All they talk about is hockey up here, right? All right, do they talk about the NFL and all stuff up here? No. NFL, NBA, no. They don't really talk that much about that. People kind of don't really. People kind of watch NFL too, but it's not that popular up here, right? But a lot of fans, quite a bit of fans in Canada watch the NFL. Like my younger stepbrother watches the NFL all the time on TV. The NFL's not that popular up here. CFL's more popular than even the NFL up here. But even though CFL's more popular than the NFL in Canada, and it's the second most popular pro sport league in Canada, like NHL's number one, there's a huge drop in in popularity. But the NHL is way more popular. There's a reason why the NHL is one of the big four, because millions of fans tune into the NHL games. Whereas CFL, they peak at like I don't know 7,000 people watching a game, because fans are just not as interested in the game, obviously. Yeah. No. Ivan, do football players in Europe get an opportunity to play in the CFL? No. I think one time there might have been one European player. No, the European football players are not as good as like the Canadian, and there's a huge drop in quality with the European players, and even the Canadian players. CFL will never won't sign the European guys because they're not that good, right? Yeah, it's all of them. I'm saying the Americans are number one, the Canadians are number two, and the Europeans. There's a huge drop in quality with the European players. They're even much worse than the Canadian players, the European players, obviously. But you notice how even football in Europe, they have all the best European players playing in that league. And then in the NFL, it's all the best American players. In the CFL, for some reason, it went to Canadian League. It's all the best. It's all the best. What? It's all the American players playing there. So the CFL is the only league whereby they have most of the star talent people from a different country. Like, I don't get it. The CFL is just weird, man. Like even in the Europe football CFL, all the star players are all the best European players there. In the NFL, it's the best American players. In the CFL, it's like all these NFL guys who get NFL reject guys who come up here and they're the stars. So CFL is like the only league where they have like a different nationality who are, you know what I'm saying, from the States as most of the stars. Like, I don't get it. The CFL's weird, man. Yeah. Ivan, man, like, we need to promote the brand up here, man. Yeah, you think by promoting the Canadian brand, the best way to promote it is by promoting it with the American talent who no one in Canada knows about and they don't really care about, right? I don't know. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Got some sour. All right, do you think the CFL will ever be a $1 billion revenue league? No. CFL might peak at maybe, if it grows, the CFL can peak at maybe $500 million if the league grows and more fans are interested. But it'll never be like $1 billion business because football is just not that popular in Canada compared to the States, right? Fans in Canada like don't love football the way the Americans love football in America, right? Because all you NFL players are wondering, yeah, I don't get it. I'm like, why is the CFL not that popular in Canada? Because football is not that big up here, guys. Fans love hockey up here. Football is not Canada's sport; it's hockey. Y'all, all they talk about up here is hockey. Yeah, you know how in the States, You know what I'm saying? You see Skip Bayless, you see Shannon, and all these guys. They talk about like the NFL all the time, the NBA. Yeah, in Canada, you have something like that too, but it's all hockey. Obviously, do people talk about the CFL on YouTube and stuff? No, no one talks about the CFL. We'll have a few people talk about the CFL, but like no one really cares that much, right? It's not that big of a popular brand up here, the CFL. You know, CFL has very, very limited marketing. Obviously, outside of TSN, CFL has very, very limited marketing in Canada, man. Very limited marketing compared to the. It has marketing, but compared to the NHL, it doesn't have the kind of marketing that the NHL has, right? Yeah, obviously. CFL has pretty good marketing for the CFL, but they don't have the kind of I told you, like it has more limited marketing compared to like the NHL, right? Because the NHL has more money, they're a richer league. But the CFL tries their very best to promote the heck out of the All Star American players on TSN. No one cares that much, right? Because they can't read it. But the CFL disagrees with me. I disagree with you. I think the fans just don't care that much because football is not that popular in Canada. Yeah, but like guys, like I've seen CFL games, and it's high quality, very, very yeah, I mean it is. Yeah, it's high quality, very entertaining football, man. It's almost as good as the NFL. It's not the NFL, but it's almost as good as the NFL. Obviously, I mean, is there a huge drop in quality with the CFL and the NFL? Not really. A little bit of a drop. I'd say the CFL, I don't know, maybe like a 50% drop in quality. NFL's 100, CFL's maybe 85%. Before I said 80, no, I mean, I'd say it's a bit higher, maybe 85%. Chad Johnson said there's not that much of a difference, but I've seen both games. I do see a difference in quality. The NFL is clearly the better league, but there's not that really much of a difference, right, in quality. But the NFL is clearly more entertaining, better football. The CFL is a high quality football too. Because the CFL, what they're trying to do, they're trying to be the NFL, and they're trying to be the NFL of Canada. Oh my guys, you're never going to be the NFL. We're never going to be the NFL, but we want to be the NFL of Canada. So because they want to be the NFL of Canada, they think by promoting the American talent and have these guys put on a show, they're gonna grow the league. But I think that's the wrong way to grow the league. Yeah, I know you guys want to be the NFL of Canada, obviously. I know, yeah, I mean that's our goal. We want to be the NFL of Canada. Yeah, but guys, like you're never gonna be. No, we know we can't compete with the NFL. We're never gonna be the NFL. But we want to be the NFL of Canada up here. We want like football to be very big up here. That's why they bring all the American guys. That way they put on the show, and it's high quality football, almost as good as the NFL. And hopefully that grows the brand up here. That's why the CFL is biased by the American talent, obviously, and they downgrade the best Canadian talent because they care more about just growing the league and making money, less on because they're blinded by you know what I'm saying, by making money and just putting on a show on television. They think, yeah, we got to bring all these American guys and have them put on a show, and hopefully we have more quality football and we can grow this thing. But you guys have been trying your best to promote the heck out of all these guys, even have them speak at schools and universities and everything, and you know what I'm saying. And yet, no one really cares about these guys, right? In Canada. Oh, hey, listen, yeah, no one really cares about these guys. They're like, oh, fuck you, why, man? You're such a fucking dick, man. Well, you American guys who come here in the CFL, you put us Canadian players down too. Yeah, look at all these Canadian guys who are a little bit better than them. We're the stars up here. You put us down too. So you Gary deserve. Don't hate him, yeah. Obviously. Do the American guys who come up here respect the Canadian players who play up here? No, not really. No, they don't. Because they know they're the better players, obviously. Obviously. But the Canadian guys in the CFL don't really respect the American guys who come here either. Because even though they're a bit more talented, they know they're your NFL rejects. So they kind of, both the Canadians and Americans don't really respect each other as much. It's actually funny. Oh yeah, Raz, that's funny. I'm saying, yeah. I'm saying, yeah. But even though the Americans know they're a bit better than Canadian players, you know what I'm saying, and they don't respect them as much. They know, yeah, we can brag all we want about being better than these Canadian players. They can actually say they're the best players in Canada. We can't say that. Yeah, you guys may be a bit better, all you American guys who come here, but like us Canadian players who played in the CFL who are actually drafted, like we can actually say we're the best players playing in Canada. You guys can't say that. You guys are not the best players in America. You're the NFL rejects, right? You're not the best players playing in America. No, I'm saying, yeah. Oh, you're such a fucking dick, man. When you put us Canadian players down too, you have to go. So it works, right? Give me a sec, guys. I'm looking for something. Looking for my lighter. Is this my lighter? Where the fuck's my lighter? I lost it, guys. I think I might have left it upstairs. Give me a sec, guys. Can't find my lighter, guys. I think it fell down. Might have fell down here, maybe. No, I can't find it, guys. My room's a mess. I gotta clean it. Oh, I know where it is. It's over here. Yeah. Ivan, what's a good example of the Canadian players and the American players who played in the CFL? You have the Dwayne Johnson thing, obviously. Yeah, Dwayne Johnson may not be as skilled as the as a lot of these Hollywood actors, obviously, but he's more valuable to Hollywood because he's more iconic, obviously. So he may not be as skilled, but he's still more valuable than all these actors. The Canadian football players in Canada are more valuable than the American guys who come up here. Yeah, because they're Canadian and they have bigger market value up here. The fans love them more, they care about them more, and they have their Canadian bias. And they're the best Canadian talent in Canada, right? So they're more valuable than the American guys who come up here. Whereas the American guys are a dime a dozen. They're a dime a dozen. Like, yeah, they're just a bunch of guys who come up here from America. They may be a bit more talented, but like they're NFL rejects and they're just a bunch of talented guys who come up to the States, but they're not the best players in Canada. So the CFL doesn't see them as valuable. Because they're a bit more talented and they put on more of a show, that's why the CFL starts mostly American guys, because they're the guys who put on more of a better show, a bit of a better show than the Canadian players. Like it even makes a difference, right? But I mean, they put on a little more of a show, obviously. Ivan, have you seen NCAA football in Syria? I've seen a few NCAA games. in my life, and I've seen CIS games. NCAA is clearly better, but like there's not like a huge difference, right? CIS football is almost just as good as your NCAA Americans. It really is, and the GM coaches even admitted it. They said, yeah, NCAA is a bit more better than CIS, but there's not that much of a difference, right? Um, Obviously, in most cases, obviously, because there's some teams in CIS who are not that good. The bad teams in CIS, you see a bit of a drop, obviously, in quality compared to NCAA, obviously. But the good teams are almost as good as the NCAA teams, obviously. But obviously, the NCAA is a bit better quality than CIS, obviously. I've seen both games. CIS is very entertaining football, but it's not the NCAA. NCAA is a bit better quality, obviously. But there's not like a huge difference, right? That's what I'm saying. UGM, the coaches know, yeah, there's not that much of a difference, but yeah. What difference is there in quality with CIS? I don't know. NCAA is 100. There's maybe a 50% drop in quality, 17% drop in quality in the CIS. There's a little bit of a drop in quality, but it's not like that much of a big difference, right? NCAA is maybe a 100. CIS is maybe an 84%. There's maybe a 60% drop, a little bit of a drop in quality. It's not a huge drop. A little bit of a drop, but it's not that big of a drop, obviously. But NCAA is clearly the better football, obviously. It's better quality football, obviously, than CIS. Yeah. Yeah. No, seriously, Ivan, like, are the American players you call in the CFL? Are they a much better than the Canadian athletes? And they're not. They're not much better. There's not that much of a difference. But the Americans, they have a little bit of the edge. They're a bit more athletic than the Canadian guys in most cases. Some of the Canadian guys are just as good as the American guys. CFL, you know it. Yeah, even there's some of the Canadian draft picks who are just as good as the American guys. But in most cases, the American guys have a little of the edge. A bit better, more athletic, and they put on more of a show. That's why they all start in the CFL, because they put on more of a show. They think by doing that, they're getting, yeah, by doing that, you get better quality football. But the fans in Canada CFL are not resonating with these American guys, obviously. Yeah, but we also have some Canadian stars too. Maybe the fans not resonating with the Canadian guys too. Um, yeah, you may have some Canadian stars, but you have very little stars in CFL. Most of your star players are the American players, and most of the talent that you promote on your promos CFL are all the American guys. You barely see, as most of your starting position guys in CFL are the old linemen. Barely any skill. Yeah, yeah. So even though the CFL does promote maybe, I don't know, three Canadian skilled position players, because the majority of the players are all these American guys they promote, the fans still don't resonate with it because it's what, like, there's only a few Canadian stars who they can resonate with, but all these other star players are all the American guys. Yeah. That's why I will tell the committee, yeah, if you really want to grow a thing, you got to have all the talent be Canadian and promote the heck out of all the skill positions, and put them through better conditioning and training by the coaches and GMs, and you can grow the league to a $500 million revenue business in 10 years. CFO will say, no, Ivan, that's too risky. We're not going to do that. I'm like, look, put them through better conditioning and training, so you get a better quality on the field. Like, it even makes that much of a difference, right? But I mean, Ivan, there'll be a bit of a dip in quality. Yeah, but like, how much of a dip will they be? I don't know, Ivan, like 6%. Yeah, 6% dip in quality, but you're still going to get amazing football. Yeah. As all the football fans in Canada love the CIS. CIS is very entertaining football, man. Yeah, man. I told you I saw the championship game with McMaster and Laval. I guarantee you, some of you GMs in the CFL saw that game, or coaches. Yeah, we saw that game. Dwayne Ford was a commentator for that game, and that the Canadian athletes playing in CIS put on a show. Not the way the American players put on a show, but they still put on a show. It was amazing fucking football, man. One of the best Canadian college championships games ever. It was televised on TSN. And it was an amazing football. It was such an amazing game. They did a documentary about it because the game was so entertaining. And Dwayne Ford was so entertaining. He's like, yeah, this is the best game ever. This is one of the best games ever. Yeah. That's how you know. Yeah, I've been like, the Canadian talent is high quality, but it's not like on the level of the American talent. The American players are more athletic. They play more for show, Ivan. Yeah, because you underestimate the Canadian talent, CFL. You underestimate the Canadian talent. There you go. Obviously, just like the committee underestimated the best college athletes, they laughed Herbergs off, and Herbergs was like, no, I'll put them through better conditioning and training, and I think we can beat the Soviets and we can win this. And those guys won the gold medal and they beat the Soviets, who were the best hockey team at the time back then, right? They're even better than the NHL players. These college kids beat them. You just got to put these Canadian players, guys, through better off-season training, better conditioning. I'll tell the committee, yeah, man, I want better conditioning and off-season training for the Canadian athletes, and better coaching, and you'll get a better quality. It won't be on the level of the American players, but it'll be almost as good. You're still going to get amazing quality football, but the CFL, they'll say, no, we can't take that risk, Ivan, because they're scared if the quality dips, even though these guys are more valuable than the American players. Because if the quality dips, less fans in Canada will be interested because they're blinded by the American talent. They can't get rid of the blindness, obviously. So all the NFL players, they're blinded by the American talent, and they underestimate the quality of the Canadian talent. You know what I'm saying? So you draft the best players in the CFL, and you underestimate the value of the Canadian quality of the Canadian talent, and you bring all these American guys up in the States who no one in Canada cares about, and you have those guys be the stars of the league. I don't get it. That's cool, I know. Steve, let me ask you a question. In the NFL, all the best players are all in the NFL, all the American players. In European football, all the best players in Europe are all the best European players. How come in Canada, all the best players in the CFL are all these American guys? How's that fair? Like, how come the Canadian Football League has to be the league where you have most of the star players from a different nationality, who are from a different country, and the best players in Europe are all the best players in Europe, in that pro league in Europe, and the best players in in NFL, the American players, but in the CFL in the Canadian country, the best players are not the Canadian players; they're the American players. Like, I don't get it. The CFL is just weird. CFL is the only league that does that, where the majority of the star talent are people from a different country. Because all these other pro leagues, football leagues around the world, CFL, are the best players in that region, right? But for the CFL, it's a different story. Like, they have the American guys with the stars, and the Canadian athletes, the best players in Canada are not the stars. Obviously. And that's why the CFL, all these American guys, all these Canadian fans, they see your CFL as kind of a minor league because the CFL is not the best talent it's not the best talent playing in that country. Obviously, yeah, right. I mean, it's high quality football. Yes, it is, but even though it's high quality football, the American star players in the CFL are not the best talent in the state CFL. And that's why some fans in Canada, even in the States, they see your CFL, even though it's not a minor league, they see it as a minor league because you have all these, and I don't mean to be an asshole, guys. Even though these guys are amazing athletes, they really are. You know what I'm saying? Even though these guys are NFL rejects, when they come up here, They put on a show. They're amazing talent, man. They're amazing athletes. I'm not gonna lie, man. They are the CFL star players are amazing players, man. They really are. But like, I don't resonate with these guys. They're American. I don't know anything about these guys. Yeah, man. Yeah. So CFL doesn't have faith in the Canadian talent. No, they don't. They don't have enough faith that they don't believe that the Canadian talent is good enough quality to attract the Canadian fans. The CFL. They don't think the Canadian talent is good enough to attract the football fans in Canada. CFL thinks the American talent is the better option to attract the fans in Canada. But yeah, I know you guys are blind by American talent, but you guys have to understand, because these guys are American, they're from a different country. You know what I'm saying? Playing in a different country in Canada. You know what I'm saying? The fans in Canada aren't resonating with these American guys. They may be putting on a show, CFL, but the fans don't really care about these guys, right? I don't mean to be an asshole. That's just the truth. Don't hate them, saying, yeah. They don't really care about these guys. Yeah, there you go. My lighter's out. I'll have to buy a new lighter. Yeah. I don't know. Some CFL draft picks better than the American players. Yeah, obviously, yeah. But like, it's very rare. Maybe like a few guys here and there are better who get drafted up here who kill the league. They're even some of them even outperform the best American stars up here too from yeah from the states obviously. But it's very rare. Usually the American guys have the edge, even over the Canadian star players obviously. But there are also some Canadian draft picks in the CFL who just did not get their opportunity to shine, right, in the league. And if they did get their opportunity to shine, they would have been amazing athletes. But because the CFL has a bias, they didn't get their opportunity to shine. As I believe Anthony Coombs, if CFL, if you gave that guy an opportunity to shine, I think he would have been an amazing running back in your league, man. He would have been the next Andrew Harris. Now, I think Dwayne Ford would be, yeah, even because Dwayne Ford knows all the CIS guys, right? He knows a lot about all the CIS athletes, obviously, and yeah, I know Anthony Coombs. If they gave him an opportunity, I think he would have been an amazing running back in the CFL, but he didn't get his opportunity. I think he's still playing in the league, but he doesn't have a successful career. He has like limited reps as a first round pick. It's ridiculous, man. Limited reps throughout his career, right? I don't know. And I think Brad Sinopoli, if the CFL gave him his opportunity as a quarterback, I think he would have been an amazing quarterback in the CFL too. Brad Sinopoli. Obviously. But they switched him to receiver because he was a very athletic QB. He was like a Canadian Michael Vick. Yeah, in college he's very fast. He can run. He's very athletic. He's also an amazing passer. Okay, he's athletic, but because we're biased towards the American talent, he doesn't have a shot at being a QB. Let's switch him to receiver. And they switched him to receiver, and he became a star receiver in the CFL. I think 1 year he led the league in yards, obviously. He was putting up like 1,000 yards every season in the league. Brad Snob. Yeah. Yeah. Going up against American corners and everything, and Brad Snobley was what, putting those American corners to shame, and he's Canadian. Now, that's how you know CFL. There's not that much of a difference in talent with the Canadian players and the American players. You're just biased and you're not giving them an opportunity. Yeah, I mean, there's not that much of a difference, but like the American players are more talented. Like, I know you guys have your. That's why you gotta get rid of these guys, man. Just get rid of them. How we have to worry about that, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, seriously, was Brad Sinopoli outshining the American star receivers? Yes, he was, man. He was outshining the American star players, like NCAA players, like I'm saying, who played in Div 1A, who were undrafted, signed free agents or NFL gods. He was outshining all those guys. I mean, he's Canadian, and you sipping on top, but yeah, I mean, he was like one of the best receivers in the league. He was even beating out a lot of our star receivers. Yes, he was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He put the American corners to shame. Guys who have NFL experience who got cut or like Div 1, Div 1A, he was putting those guys to shame, and he's Canadian. And that's how you know CFL. If you just give these guys better conditioning and proper training, you're going to get amazing football. But you guys you just downgrade the Canadian talent and you underestimate the Canadian talent because you have your bias. You're crazy people, man. In the Canadian fucking country. Yeah, man. And Andrew Harris, when he played in the CFL, he was an undrafted free agent, right? He didn't get drafted in the league. Obviously, Andrew Harrison was not a draft pick in the league. He was an undrafted free agent, and he was arguably the best running back in the league when he in his later career when he played. I think he won for a few seasons. He had the most yards in the league, and he's Canadian. He was outperforming all these American running backs. Some running backs who played in the NFL, who got cut, or some running backs who were Div 1A NCAA stars who were undrafted, uh, unsigned NFL free agents. He was outperforming all those guys, and he's Canadian, obviously. But because he's Canadian, he didn't get any MVP. He won most outside Canadian because the CFL's biased, man. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I even like we have to respect these guys. They're American. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones who really put on the show. Those awards goes to those guys, and we give the best Canadian star players playing in the CFL an opportunity to win their separate outside Canadian award. Because you guys even have a bias towards the Canadians for the award. It's ridiculous, honestly. It's sad. Was Andrew Harris as good as John Cornish? Almost as good, but Andrew Harris was not John Cornish. John Cornish was an amazing Canadian running back, man. He made it look so easy. He was putting up 1,800, 2,000 yards a season. Yeah, man, that was crazy. 1,800, 2,000 yards a season as a running back, man. That's fucking crazy, man. The CFL. He was by far the best running back in the CFL when he played. He was outshining all these American running backs who played in the NFL and got cut or NCAA Div 1A athletes. He was outshining them. And you CFL know what I'm talking about. Yeah, even John Cornish when he played was the best running. Yeah, he was the best running back in the CFL, man. He was even better than Pinball Clemmings, man. I think he would have been better than Pinball. He would have beaten Pinball Clemmings' CFL record if he played for maybe 10 seasons. He would have beat. I think he was a better running back than Pinball Clemmings, man. He really was, man. He was amazing. I know all you CFL legends think I'm crazy. He's not Pinball Clemmings. Nah, guys, man. I think if John Cornish played for 10 years, he would have beaten even Pinball Clemmings, man. He was amazing, man. He was putting up 1,800, 2,000 yards a season on average. 1,700, 2,000 yards a season. But because of his concussion and injuries, he retired. He had to call it quits after 5 years. Obviously. And he was better than all the American running backs in the CFL. Better than all those guys. Yeah. That's how you know CFL. The potential is there. There's not that much of a difference, but On average, the American players have the edge, man. They're a bit more athletic. That's why you got to get rid of them and put the Canadian athletes through better conditioning and training, like Herb Brooks did for the best college players. Do that, and you get a better performance on the field. I'm sorry. Are there Ivan? Are there a lot of CFL legends in the? Are there a lot of CFL legends in the CFL? No, there's not that many CFL legends in the CFL. All the CFL legends are all these American guys. Yeah, man, it's sad, man. You know, the NFL's alive, and that's cold, man. Yeah, there's barely any CFL legends in the CFL because most of the starting talent in the CFL is the old lineman, right? They're not playing in a skilled position. That's why there's barely any star um, Canadian CFL players. Because um, most Canadian players in CFL don't are not starters. They're not star players. They're all special team players. Yeah, they're not star players. All of the star players are the American guys. Well, has this been going on for decades? Yeah, the CFL had this bias for going on for decades, man. I don't know what it was like when Russ Jackson played in the '60s, right? That's a long time ago. I don't know what it was like back then. I don't think the CFL was as biased back then. No, no, they even during when the CFL started the league, even they it was all they brought all these American guys, man. They always had that bias. I don't know why. They just do. It's really weird. That's why Russ Jackson is very respected because Russ Jackson was actually a starting Canadian quarterback. I believe he won a Grey Cup. He only played for 8 years. He put up like, I don't know, about 25, 30,000 yards. That's why, you know what I'm saying? He has a Grey Cup, I believe, one or two Grey Cups. He's respected. And they have an award named after him at the CIS Awards for the college athletes, the best college athletes in Canada. They have an award named after him. Yeah. Whereas all these American legends who play in the CFL, they don't have any awards named after them because even though the Canadian fans love them and everything, they don't really care that much about them because they can't relate these guys. Like they don't even know where these guys even came from. Yeah, man. Yeah. I don't know. You watch a CFL preseason game, right? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you watch the game obviously, and you see I don't know, you see this special teams returner, you see this running back, like you know what I'm saying. They put on a show, but like the people watching Canada and the fans in the stadium, they don't know who the fuck this guy even is, man. Like they don't even know where this guy even came from. They're clueless. He's just a guy who came from another country who happens to put on a show, but like the fans in Canada don't even know who the fuck this guy even is. Like CFL, like they may come up here, and these American guys may come up here and put on a show, but like even though they're putting on a show, the fans don't have a clue about any of these guys. They just come up here from another country, and they don't even know where this guy even came from. They're clueless, and that's how you want to grow the Canadian Football League brand by bringing up unknowns from the states who the fans have no clue about. Like, I don't get it, man. But I even like they're very talented. Yes, they're very talented, but like CFL, man, is this really how you want to grow your Canadian brand? By just bringing talent from a different country? Yeah, even they're talented. Yeah, they're talented, but the fans in Canada don't know anything about these guys when they come up here, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, that's hilarious. I know. Well, I've seen many preseason games. I watched the game. You see this running back. You know what I'm saying? That running back is putting on a show and everything. But like, I have no clue who this guy even is. I don't even know what school he went to. I don't even know where this guy fucking even came from, man. I know he came from the States, but I have no idea where this guy came from. He's just a guy who came from the States, who happens to put on a show for the fans on camera, but the fans don't resonate with these guys. They don't know who the fuck these guys even are. Like they don't even know where these guys even came from. You know what I'm saying? Am I right way for it, Ivan? That's true. I said, yeah. Yeah. And that's why, because the fans don't know anything about these American players. When I don't know, in the preseason game, did you have this American quarterback? You know what I'm saying? The American quarterback is putting on a show up here, but like the fans don't know who this guy even is. They don't even know where he even came from. They're completely clueless. And then what the CFL does, they have the play-by-play guy and the color commentator. They have information about him. This guy is a guy he played at NCAA. I don't know. He played at Penn State University in the NCAA Div 1A. You know what I'm saying? He was an unsigned, undrafted agent. They try to give you a little bit of information about the guys, but like these Canadian fans in Canada don't care because they're American. They didn't see that guy play at Penn State. They don't know anything about this guy. They don't have any information about this guy. You know what I'm saying? He's from a different country. Like, you know what I'm saying? He just came from a different country and he puts on a show, but like no one knows who this guy is. They don't know anything about him. They can't resonate with him. He's American and they don't even know where this guy came from. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, but Ivan, like, even though they're clueless, like they put on a show, Ivan. Yeah, but like the fans in Canada are not resonating with these guys, CFL. They don't even know who the fuck these guys even are. They're just guys who come from a different country who happen to put on a show. But like they may be putting on a show, but the fans don't know who these guys are when they like. You know what I'm saying? Don't even say yeah. They don't know who the fuck these guys are. They have no clue who these guys are. I don't know who these guys are when I see these guys come up here. They may be talented and putting on a show, but I don't know anything. I don't have any information about these guys. That's why they try their best to give you a little bit of information. Yeah, this quarterback played at NCAA, I don't know, Penn State, NCAA University. This quarterback played at, I don't know, Buffalo University, you know what I'm saying, the States. You know what I'm saying? And yet no one cares because they can't resonate with these guys. Yeah, man. This guy played at University of Alabama. This guy played at Texas A&M. You know what I'm saying? And nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, nobody cares. There you go. Because they didn't see these guys play college, right? Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, the CFL fans are familiar with some of the colleges. Yes, they are, as some CFL fans do tune into NCAA. Like this QB played at Alabama. Some of the fans know Alabama, but they don't know anything about these guys. CFL, they don't know anything about these guys. Like they don't even know what these guys like even came from. Like they're just guys who come up from a different country. They come from a different country and they come up here and they put on a show in the preseason, but like no one knows who the fuck these guys even are. They just come up out of nowhere from a different country and they happen to put on a show up here. But the fans are clueless. Like, yeah, this guy's amazing, but I don't know who the fuck this guy is. He's an amazing talent, but I mean, he's from the States. I don't even know where he played. I don't even know where this guy fucking came. I don't even know where this guy even came from. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They don't know anything about these guys. And that's why I believe the CFL is not growing, because the Canadian fans are not resonating with the American guys, because they don't know anything about these guys, right? Obviously, that's why the CFL tries when they become stars, the CFL now tries their best to promote them on a TSN promo, and they do documentaries about them, and they even interview them. Sometimes they'll do a thing where during the game. Sometimes they'll do a thing where they play a game, obviously. During a season game, obviously, they do the TSM promo, and they'll even do a thing where they interview the players for maybe, like, I don't know, like 15 seconds. They talk about playing and all that stuff. Yes, it's cool. Yeah, this guy's a CFL star, but, like, no one cares, because no one really cares about these guys, because they're American. They can't resonate with these guys. They don't really care about them. Oh, yeah. They don't really care. There you go. Yeah. Why do they promote the star Canadian players on the TSN promo? Yes, they do, but because most of the star players are the linemen, you'll get maybe I don't know, maybe two, maybe three if you're lucky maybe 3, 4 Canadian star players they promote, and the rest is just all the American guys, man. Yeah. So even though they're promoting the Canadian guys on the promo, they're still the Canadians are still limited to really be more than shine because they focus more of the attention on the American guys. They just promote the heck out of all these American star players, and you knows how the people in Canada see people are not resonating with these guys because they're American. They may put on a show CFL, but like no one in Canada knows who these guys are because they're unknowns who just come up from a different country and happen to kill the league. But like no one knows any information about them. They don't know anything about these guys. They don't have a clue about these guys. They don't even know where these guys even came from. They just happen to come up here from a different country and like they put on the show, but like no one knows anything about these guys. I shouldn't say I don't hate him. Yeah, no one knows who these guys are. Yeah, but I even like when they become CFL stars, they know their names and everything. Yeah, they know their names, but they don't know any history about them. They don't know anything about these guys because they're from a different country, right? Yeah, they can't really resonate with them. Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, the American players put on a show. I know. That's why you're blind, obviously. Yeah, I know. You have that fear, CFL. Yeah, Ivan. Like the American players who come up here, man, even though they're not the best talent in America, they're very talented. I know they're very talented when they come up here. The receivers, the running backs, the quarterbacks, they put on a show. I know. The corners, they put on a show. Obviously, and it's high quality football. I get that, but the fans are and you're promoting them, and then the fans are not resonating with them. Obviously, because UCFL think the fans care. UCFL think you think the fans care more about the quality of the Canadian game, less on the value of the Canadian brand. The fans do care about the quality. Like you want to have high quality football, but because you're blinded by the American talent, you think that if you put on like higher quality CFL by promoting American talent, that will grow the game in Canada. Whereas I think otherwise. I think even though the Canadian talent is not of high quality as American talent, will dip a little bit, you're still going to get amazing football, and the fans will value your league more and take your league more seriously, and more people tune in. Because the CFL, they're scared of the different quality. Yeah, if we just have Canadian players, the fans might not tune in because the quality's not as good, honestly. CFL has that fear because they underestimate the best Canadian players in Canada, obviously. In our fucking country, it's ridiculous. Yeah, man. All you ever players, I'm not sad, man. Like the CFL doesn't really trust you, American Canadian guys. No, they don't. They don't trust us Canadian guys to put on as good enough of a show to attract the Canadian fans. They think the American players are the ones who will attract the fans more. I get that, guys, because they put on more of a show, but because they're American CFL, the fans don't resonate with these guys. They don't know anything about these guys. They're just guys who come up here from a different country who happen to put on the show, but they're unknowns. No one knows what the fuck these guys even are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, when they become CFL stars, they wore their names and everything. But like, they don't really care about these guys because they're American. They don't know anything about these guys. So I even said, yeah. No one really cares about these guys in Canada. No one even said, yeah. When you see the American players put on a show and they say their name, is it cool? Yes, it is. Oh my God, this receiver is amazing. He's killing the league. But because they're American, I don't know anything about these guys. I don't really care that much about them. You guys see what I'm saying? Well, all you CFL fans agree, yeah, Ivan, you're right, man. Even though we love them and they put on a show, we don't really care about them because they're American. We can't resonate with them. We don't know anything. We don't know anything. We're clueless about these guys. Yes. And that's how the CFL wants to grow the Canadian brand with unknowns who just come up here from the States and happen to put on a show, and nobody in Canada even knows these guys even are. They're clueless. They can't resonate with them. That's how the CFL wants to grow the league because, I don't know, man. It's really weird. Yeah. All you NFL players, yeah, but Ivan, like, they're a bit more talented than you Canadian players. Yes, they are, but they're not that valuable up here, man. Because they're American, and the fans in Canada are clues. They don't know who the fuck these guys even are. They're just guys who come out of nowhere from a different country. They happen to put on a show, but like the fans don't know anything about them. They're clueless. Yeah, I don't even know where these guys came from. Yeah, in the States, right? They're completely clueless. They're just guys who come from a different country. They put on a show, but like no one in Canada really knows who these guys are. That's why they don't really care about these guys, right? And they also know they're NFL rejects. So I don't even ask them. Even though they're amazing players, they're NFL rejects, obviously. That's why no one cares about these guys, obviously, right? There we go. In Canada, right? Yeah. So like, when do the fans start to know a little bit about them? When they become CFL stars, the fans in CFL know about them all. They know their name and everything, but because they're American, they don't really resonate with them, and they don't really know that much about their history, what school they played at. They're still clueless. They know their name now, and they know a little bit about them, but they still don't know that much about them because they're American. They can't resonate with them. They don't know anything about these guys. They're just guys who come up here from a different country and they happen to put on a show and be stars, but the Canadian fans don't resonate with them. They don't really care that much about them. They don't know anything about these guys. And CFL, I'm talking to you, man. You're trying your very best to promote them on your TSM promo. You even do documentaries about them, and yet no one really cares because they're American. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one even knows where these guys even came from, man. They're unknowns coming up here. Like, no one knows who these guys even are. No one even saying, yeah. Yeah, right. You got to give the American players an opportunity to play pro football. Well, the NFL doesn't give us Canadian players an opportunity to play pro football. Yeah, they do, Ivan. I don't know, maybe a few. There's maybe, what, I don't know, 3, 4 Canadians playing in the NFL who are not even starting. They have very limited opportunity to play in the NFL. Why are you giving all these American guys an opportunity to play Canadian football up here in our league when you should be giving the best Canadian players an opportunity to play pro football up here? Yeah, right, we do give them opportunity. Yes, you do, but they get limited opportunity. They play special teams. They sit on the bench. They get limited reps, and all the star players in your league are all the American players. How's that fair, CFL? Yeah, so you care more about the American players who are not Canadian having an opportunity to play pro football instead of the Canadian players who are actually Canadian and live in Canada, grew up in Canada, less of an opportunity to play pro football in their own country. So you CFL, you care more about the Americans' opportunity to play pro football than the Canadians' opportunity to play pro football in their own fucking country. It's Canada. When these American players are not even Canadian. Like, you know how stupid and silly that sounds? Like, how's that fair, guys? Oh, even they're a bit more talented. That's why you got to get rid of them, man. Get rid of the American talent. That way you can give the Canadian players an opportunity to play football here, man. That's the only way to make it work, right? Yeah, they can play in the arena football. They can play in the XFL. All these American guys who don't make the NFL, they can play in those leagues, guys. Those leagues are still pretty good leagues. Those are good leagues. You know what I'm saying? If they don't make the NFL, they can play in the arena football league. They can play in the XFL. That's still pretty good, right? It's not the CFL. They can still play in those minor leagues. Don't hate them. Yeah. Whereas the CFL is all these Canadian players have. CFL. This is all they have, man. The American players have the NFL, they have the football league, they have the XFL, they can play there if they don't make the NFL, right? They're not good enough for the NFL. There you go. Obviously. Because, guys, I don't mean to be an asshole. All you GMs in the CFL, I don't mean to be an asshole. All these American guys who come up here from the States, obviously, even though they're amazing talent, they put on a show, they never want to be here to begin with, guys. They don't. Playing the CFL was not their dream. Their dream was playing the NFL. They just happened to be up here because they didn't get their NFL shot. And then when they shine up here, a lot of them ditch the CFL to play in the NFL. And then a lot of these GMs in the CFL are pissed off because they're losing their amazing American star talent to the NFL because they never want to be here to begin with, man. And you're willing to give those guys an opportunity to shine up here when they never want to be here in the first place. They're just here because they didn't get their NFL opportunity. When the Canadian players actually want to play pro football up here, guys, and you limit their opportunity, like, how's that fair? Does that make sense? I don't get it. Yeah. As the GMs in the CFL lose a lot of star CFL players to the NFL. That's how you know these guys never wanted to be here to begin with. So they're kind of using the CFL as a platform for them to get another NFL opportunity. Because that's their dream, CFL. The American player's dream is not playing the CFL, it's playing in the NFL. The Canadian players playing up here, their dream is playing in the CFL. Yeah, but I even, like, we draft them. Yeah, you draft them, but the whole thing's bullshit. It's a crapshoot. These Canadian players, the CFL draft guys is a crapshoot. It's bullshit. Most of these draft picks are never going to see light day, man. They all end up on special teams, or they get cut and released. They're on the practice roster, or they get limited reps. And they sit on the bench. Man, that's how it works, right? Yeah. Like your own draft picks, man. And that's why the Canadian fans, CFL, they can't take your league seriously, man. Because you know what I'm saying? This Canadian player is a 6th overall pick. You see the CFL draft pick commission, you know what I'm saying? This Canadian player is a 6th overall pick in the first round. Congratulations. Congratulations, I'm saying. And you see the GM, he calls the player, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's all what? It's all noise to hype the fans about the Canadian player. And then the season starts, and you see, obviously, you see the what? You see some Canadian players get reps in the preseason, then the season starts, and then they're not stars. They're all playing special teams. So you hype the fans up for the draft with all these Canadian star players, and most of them are on special teams, or they're on the practice roster, or they get limited reps or sitting on the bench. And that's why the CFL fans can't take your league seriously, CFL, and they can't even take your own draft seriously. It's embarrassing. You have your bias towards the American talent. It's ridiculous, man. Oh yeah, for guys, Ivan, that's cold, man. Even your draft picks, yeah, even our draft picks, don't see light of day in CFL. It's all the American guys. How it works, right? I even do some CFL draft picks get to be stars. Yeah, of course, obviously, but like the main CFL draft picks that get to be stars are the linemen. Obviously, as linemen are the most valuable to the CFL. The linemen are the most valuable position, Canadian position, because most of the first round picks are the linemen guys in the CFL. You know how the NFL, most of the first round picks are the quarterbacks and running backs, whatever it is. In the CFL values the linemen because most of the linemen are the lineman is a non-skill position. It's not as risky, so they value the linemen in the CFL. Most of the first round picks are the linemen and receivers too. Obviously, receivers and linemen. The two most valuable positions for the Canadians in the CFL is the linemen and the receivers. Because that's not that risky for the teams, right? Yeah, some draft picks who are receivers get to be stars, and most of the star players in the CFL are linemen. That's why the CFL they love the Canadian linemen. Most of the first round picks are the linemen, obviously. The CFL, not the quarterbacks like your NFL. No. Because because Canadian quarterbacks are never get that opportunity. Most of the first round picks are the linemen. I said, all you ever learn is laughing at, and that's funny, I know. It's funny. The linemen in the CFL, obviously, right now. And the receivers, too. Yeah. All right, that's cold, man. Yeah, the non-skilled position is... Yeah, the non-skilled position, the one non-skilled position for the league, that's the most valuable in terms of the Canadian talent, the CFL, the linemen. Because those, yeah. So if you're an lineman, if you're a star CSO lineman, then you might get your opportunity. Chances are, if you're a first round pick, you might get an opportunity to start, obviously, be a star. But if you're a skill position player, very rare for you to be a star player. It's very rare. Yeah, very rare, obviously. I heard the BJ Ivan. That's cold, man. Yeah, man. There's a bias in the sea up here in Canada with the American players. It's ridiculous, man. Yeah. The CIS athletes, the CIS college all-star players who get drafted don't know about the bias. Then once they get drafted, they're excited, and once they step into training camp, they now notice the bias. Yeah, they'll know, obviously. They'll know about the bias, obviously. They'll know. As my older stepbrother told me stories. Yeah. He told me stories about, like, yeah. He even told me stories how he had beef. He had beef with the American players were looking down on the American players were looking down on some of the Canadian players, and they had beef and all that stuff. Yeah, man. Obviously, because the American players and people look down on the Canadian players. Obviously, because they know they're a bit more talented and they're the stars of the league, even though no one cares about you guys. And yeah, he told me how there's a bias on this. Yeah, the CFL loves the American star players, and all those draft picks sit on the bench. Yeah, the draft picks, man, like first, second, third, fourth round draft picks, fifth round draft picks, they sit on the bench. And the coaches are like, they love the American guys, and you know what I'm saying, and they get to shine, and they all sit on the bench. Obviously, that's how it works, right? Yeah. I mean, that's cold, man. Yeah, it's cold, man. Ridiculous. In fucking Canada, like CFL, man, even though these American guys are amazing, and you guys love them so much because they're so talented, man, no one in Canada cares about these guys, man. Like, I'm talking to you, CFL, do people in Canada really care about these American guys? No one even knows who they even are. They can't resonate with them. They may be amazing talent they put on the show. I know they're amazing talent. They're amazing, man. They put on a show. I know, guys. They're amazing quality talent. They're amazing players, but like no one in Canada resonates with them. No one really cares about these guys. That's what I'm saying. They care more about the best Canadian players. There you go. They're more viable here, right? Yeah. Yeah. Why does the CFL treat the American soccer players like gods? Because they're so talented and they put on a show. They think because the American players are so talented and they put on a show, and people in Canada, it's quality football. It's because of these guys that this league this league is the where it is where it is. The CFL thinks because it's because of the American talent, the league has grown over the years and more. They've attracted more fans in Canada, but I think that's bullshit. I think the fans don't really resonate with these American guys, and no one really cares about them, and that's why they love them so much because they believe they're very valuable to the league. I don't believe they're really that valuable to the league, but they believe they're so valuable to the league because they're amazing. They're amazing talent, obviously. And they put on a show on television when the Canadians in Canada watch on TSN. Obviously, that's why they love them so much. The CFL, obviously, right? Yeah. But they love the Canadian star players more. If you're a Canadian star player in the CFL, the league will love the Canadian player even more. But I told you there's barely any Canadian star players, and most of the star players in the CFL are the non-skill positions, which is the O lineman. The skill positions usually goes to the American players. That's how it works. Yeah, yeah. What when I do press conferences with the American players, do you really care that much? No, I don't really care. I can't resonate with these guys, man. You know what I'm saying? They talk to both. You know what I'm saying? They even promote the CFL players on TSM of the press conferences. They have like clips of the press conferences and everything. They try their best. The CFL tries their best to promote the heck out of all these guys. They do press conferences with Rolly by Mitchell and all these guys, and they promote like the stuff on TSN. And nobody cares, man, because they may be stars and everything, and you know what I'm saying, but like people can't resonate with these guys CFL because they're American. They may put on a show up here, but they're unknowns. You just come up here from another country and happen to put on a show in Canada, and you somehow think that's the best way to grow the league. Very weird. Ivan, they're talented, yeah, but like they're just random talent from another country who happen to put on a show up here, and they're not even Canadian, and nobody knows who they even are. And I'm saying that's why fans don't really care that much about these guys. They can't resonate with these guys. Don't even say, yeah. They're just random, amazing talent in the States who just happen to come up in Canada, in the CFL, and put on a show, but like nobody knows where this guy even came from, right? They don't know anything about these guys. Yeah, don't hang on a second, yeah. No, I seriously, when I do press conferences with the American players, do you really care? No, like, yes, it's cool when when they interview them and they ask them questions. When they have a bad performance, the press grills them and everything. But I don't really care because they're American. I don't even know where these guys came from. I don't know anything about them. You know what I'm saying? I don't really care that much. Like, you guys know what I'm saying? I don't mean to be an asshole. I'm just telling you the truth, man. Honestly, I don't really care. Like, I don't really care. I can't resonate with these guys. They're from a different country. They're American. I think all you see fans will be, yeah, Ivan, you're right. We don't really care that much about them. We don't resonate with them. They're American. Yeah, it's very tough to resonate from someone who comes from another country who's an unknown. He's a different nationality. It's tough to resonate with that person, right? It's tough, obviously, to resonate with that person, right? In a Canadian country, obviously, it's tough to resonate with people. Oh, yeah. Obviously, Ivan, there are a few American players who you knew from the States. The only person who I knew who came up here from the NCAA was Troy Smith. I knew he won. Yeah, I recognize him. Obviously, yeah, this is the guy who won the Heisman Trophy. All you American guys know Troy Smith, right? Yeah, he won the Heisman Award in NCAA, the best player in the league for the NCAA. I remember when he came up here. Obviously, I recognize him. Obviously, but all these other guys, I have no clue who they are. I don't even know where these guys even came from, man. I have no clue who these guys are. And Troy Smith, by the way, did horrible up here. And he was a Heisman. He was an undrafted free. He was an undrafted signed free agent in the NFL, but he got cut, and he got his opportunity up here, and he did horrible up here. He was a horrible quarterback. He's much worse than even Nathan Rourke, man. He was a Heisman winner. Nathan Rourke was a better quarterback. Is doing much better in the CFL than even fucking Troy Smith, and he's a Heisman Trophy winner. And that's how you know CFL. If you just give the Canadian guys an opportunity to shine, there's not that much of a difference, man. If Nathan Rourke, who did not win the Heisman Award, can do much better than Troy Smith was horrible up here. They were picking him off left and right. He was horrible up here. They cut his ass, and Nathan Rourke is a much better quarterback than even Troy Smith, man. He's Canadian, the CFL, and then that's how you know CFL. You just got to let go of your bias and give these Canadian players an opportunity. There's not that much of a difference. Yeah, they're a bit. Yes, most of these American players have a bit of the edge and athleticism and talent, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference, guys. Hey, but Ivan, if we start a bunch of Canadian guys and we have them go up against American guys, we don't want to take that risk. We're scared they won't perform as well again. That's why you got to get rid of the American guys. We don't have to worry about that. Get rid of the American talent. That's what I'll tell the committee, right? Yeah. Johnny Manziel, one of the biggest NFL busts in history. Obviously, I heard you guys don't know Johnny Manziel, right? Yeah, Johnny Manziel came up here too. Yeah, I heard stories about John. I knew a little about John. Johnny Manziel. I heard he was an amazing NCAA talent, and the NFL he was buzzing about him. I heard he was one of the biggest NFL busts in history. One of the biggest. You guys, all you American guys, American football fans know. Yeah, we know Johnny Manziel. Yeah. He came up here too. He did horrible, man. He did terrible too, man. Obviously, he did horrible up here. They cut his ass, man. Yeah, man. Did terrible up here. Yeah. Nathan Rourke did much better than Johnny Manziel. Yeah. He's Canadian. That's how you know there's not that much of a difference, guys. Yeah, we know, man. There's not that much of a difference, but the Americans just have more of the edge and more bias, and we have to keep the American talent on the field to promote the Canadian Football League brand because they put on a show, obviously. Yeah, but Nathan Rourke is putting on a show in the CFL. He has 3,000 plus passing yards so far, guys. He's third place in passing. First place is Bo Levi Mitchell. Second is his other quarterback. I think the Toronto quarterback. And Nathan Rourke is number 3. He has 3,000 on, only 300 yards passing this year. Nathan Rourke. Yeah, even Nathan Rook is putting on. Yeah, Nathan Rook is putting on a show in the CFL. Obviously, he's doing very well up here as a Canadian quarterback. You just got to give these Canadian players opportunity to shine in CFL and get rid of the Canadian talent. They're going on here, you know. Obviously, Michael Sam. You guys all know Michael Sam. Yeah, we know Michael Sam. Yeah, Michael Sam was an undrafted free agent too. You know what I'm saying? The NFL, the guy who's gay, right? I know. I heard of Michael Sam. I knew about too. Obviously, I knew about Michael Sam when he came up here. I knew about the gay guy Michael Sam when he came up here. There's a few guys who I know about when they come up here, but most guys I don't have a clue. Michael Sam, the CFL loved him when he came up here. They had a big press conference about him and everything, and what they were expecting him to be a CFL star up here, and he did horrible in training camp against the O lineman. Obviously, he didn't do good. Yeah, and they cut his ass. They cut his ass. Yeah. Do a lot of American players think that when they come up here they're going to kill the league? Yeah, they do because they think the Canadian players are so much worse than them. And then they come on all these D linemen who played NCAA and all, so they come up here and they go against the Canadian linemen and they do horrible and they get cut, man. Obviously. Because they underestimate the Canadian talent. They come up here and they get released. They get picked off by free safeties, Canadian free safeties. They get pancaked by the Canadian linemen, and they get cut, obviously. And then they're like, it finally hits them, yeah, even though we're a bit better than the Canadian players, there's not that much of a difference. We're a little bit more athletic, but man, these Canadian guys are good too. Yeah, we're good too, man. Obviously. The CFL knows, yeah, the Canadian talent is amazing, but the Americans just have it in the edge. Yes, they do CFL, but is there really that much of a difference if you get rid of the American talent? There'll be a little bit of a drop in quality, but it's not that much of a difference, man. Just put them through better conditioning and training. You'll still get almost as good quality football as the American guys coming up here, right? When they play. Right, some Sarah? Yeah. As Team Canada beat your Team USA, guys. The best players in Canada beat your Team USA. And that's how you know there's not that really much of a there's not really like the Canadian talent is almost as good as the American talent. Yeah, even you guys are almost as good as, but you're not. Yeah, we're not as good as you guys. But you guys underestimate the Canadian talent, obviously. As my oldest stepbrother, he played for Team Canada back in like 2009. It was the best players in Canada competing against the best players in Team USA, and they got destroyed for that. They got beaten bad that game. And then 3 years later, Team Canada, obviously, they played the best players in Team USA. Like this is like what U19, whatever it is, U17, whatever it is. It was like U17, yeah, U17 Team USA versus U17 Team Canada. Team Canada beat your Team USA guys. Best players in Canada beat your best young players in America. Obviously. Ivan, that's bullshit. No, I'm not lying, guys. Like I saw the game. Team Canada wiped it forward with Team USA. It was like 41, like 23. Best players in Canada beat your Team USA. And that's so you know, CFL, if you just give the Canadian players an opportunity and give them better training, you're still going to get very quality football. You're just blinded by the American talent, who the fans in Canada don't really care about that much, man. Like, you got some Sarah? Yeah. Obviously. And I saw the game when Team Canada beat Team USA. You can tell the players in Team USA and the coaches, they were embarrassed, obviously, because these fucking Canadian players beat us. They beat them pretty bad. It was like 41, like 23. I saw the game live. I'm not lying, guys, man. Our Canadian best players, like U17, we beat your U17 best players in America, man. These are the best players in the country. Our Team Canada beat them. They got they got killed the first time when my oldest stepbrother played, but the second time, 3 years later, Team Canada beat Team USA. I'm not lying, guys. They beat them. They beat them, yeah. Obviously. Why do you think the best players in Canada can hold their own against the best American players? Um, the best American players in the NFL. They can hold their own. They can hold their own. But I think the American players of white will beat them pretty bad. Obviously, maybe I don't know, 55, maybe 18, 55, 20, 57, 20. It'd be a pretty. They can hold their own against them, but they probably lose. But if the American players underestimate them and they take them for granted, the Canadian players can perhaps what? They can perhaps give them a more of a run for their money. But I don't think they can beat them, obviously. But do not underestimate the Canadian talent. As Team Canada beat your Team USA Americans, they beat your Team USA. There you go. They beat your Team USA. I remember when they won, I was so happy. Oh my god, Team Canada beat Team USA, and the Canadians were like, oh, they're all so happy, and you can tell the American players they were pissed off and they were embarrassed. I saw the game. They had you saw a lot of American players. They were just like sitting down. They were bending their knees down. They're taking their helmet like hitting the ground. It was like fuck, man. We lost these fucking Canadian players, man. What the fuck? And the coaches were probably embarrassed too. They lost to the Canadians, man. I saw the game obviously on television. They lost. They lost to the Canadians. But the first time they got killed like 41-3. While my oldest brother played for Team Canada, they got killed, man. I saw the game. The game was televised in Canada, right? I saw it. Yeah, they got killed. Team Canada got destroyed 41-3 by Team USA. They got destroyed. But the second time, the Canadian players beat the Team USA, obviously, right? They beat them. Yeah. And that's how you know CFL coaches and GM. CFL, there's not that much of a difference in quality of talent. There's not that much of a difference, obviously, but like the Americans are better either. I know they are, and they're more athletic and they have the edge. I know that, but I mean, they won't be that much of a difference in quality, guys. You're still going to get entertaining football, and I guarantee you the value of the league will go up. In 10 years, your league can double in revenue, man. You're never going to be the NFL, but this league can grow to a $500 million, at least a $400 million a year business in like 8 to 10 years if you do this. You just got to promote the Canadian talent. And the fans will actually take your league more seriously now because you're promoting the Canadian brand with the Canadian talent. And when you do promos with these star Canadian quarterbacks and running backs, the fans will actually be more invested. They'll actually care a little bit more because they can relate to these guys. A lot of the fans will recognize these guys. Yeah, this guy played at Wilfrid Laurier University. He was drafted in the second round. They can relate with them more. And they care about these guys more because they're Canadian They're from the same country. They're not unknowns. They can relate with these guys. Whereas these American guys, they may be more talented. They put on a show, but they're unknowns to the Canadian people, right? Obviously, yeah, they're unknowns who just come up here and they happen to put on the show and they become all stars. But even though they're all stars and they put on a show and they're amazing player, amazing talent up here in Canada, there people in Canada don't know who the fuck these guys are. They don't even know where they even came from. Like this star receiver, can he put up like 1,000 yards? Can Bo Levi Mitchell take his team to the Grey Cup? And yet no one really cares that much because they don't resonate with these guys. They don't know who the fuck these guys even are, man, or where they even came from. They're just guys who come up from a different country and they happen to put on a show up here in a different country in Canada, but like no one knows where the fuck these guys even came from, man. They're just guys who come, no names, and they're just guys who come up here from a different country and they just happen to put on a show in Canada. But I mean, the fans are clueless. Yeah, this guy is a star quarterback. I know his name now, but I don't know any information about him. I don't know anything about this guy. I don't resonate with him. They don't know anything about these guys, man. And the CFL panel and the CFL, they do their very best to promote all these American star players, and yet no one really cares that much about these guys. I don't even care that much about them. Like you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this receiver, this American receiver is the best receiver in the CFL. You know what I'm saying? But when they talk about the Canadian players, I now listen. I'm more interested. I remember when they were talking about Andrew Harris. You know what I'm saying? When they talked about Andrew Harris, I was more invested, obviously. Okay, when they talk about Andrew Harris, I'm a little bit more interested because he's Canadian. I have my Canadian bias. I know a little about I know about Andrew Harris. Andrew Harris played in the CGFL. I knew about him. Andrew Harris did not play in the CIS. He played in the CGFL. CGFL is like is not university football. It's amateur football. Sorry, it's another league. It's the second best league after the CIS. But the CGFL is not university football. It's what? It's just an amateur league. It's a high quality. It's a pretty good league, but it's not the CIS. CIS is actually like the best Canadian talent in university. It's college football, where CGFL is not college football. Andrew Harris played in that league and he killed the league. He did not play university football, but he was so good that the CFL, they picked him up and he was an undrafted free agent and he ended up being an all-star CFL player. He was one of the best running backs in the league when he played, right? Andrew Harris. And I knew him from CGFL, and I'm saying, yeah, because I can relate to these guys, right? He played in CGFL, Andrew Harris. I knew a little bit about him because he's Canadian, obviously. And when they talked about him and everything, I was actually more interested. I was a little bit more interested. When they talk about these American guys, like, it's a little bit interesting, obviously. Yeah, it's cool. This guy is the best, I would say, American receiver in the CFL, but like, I don't really care. I don't really care because they're unknowns. I don't even know where these guys even came from, man. They just happen to come up here from a different country, and they're amazing talent. They happen to kill the league and they're CFL stars, but like, I don't resonate with them. I don't even know the fuck these guys even are. You know what I'm saying? I don't know any history about them. They're just random. They're just random amazing talent who came from the States who happen to be stars up here, but I don't know anything about these guys, right? So it's tough for me to really be invested and be really interested because they're American from a different country. You guys see what I'm saying? I think all you see fans are, yeah, I mean, you're right. Even though when they promote all these CFL quarterbacks and the best running backs and receivers, we don't really resonate with these guys. We don't know anything about them. They're American. Yeah. They're clueless, the fans in Canada. And that's the reason why CFL, I believe your league's not growing. I don't believe the fans are resonating with these American guys. Yeah. Amazing players, amazing talent. The fans love them. They're CFL stars. They don't care that much about them because they're American. They can't resonate with the guys. Don't hate with these guys. Don't hate them. Yeah. The CFL will never make that change because they see it as risky. Obviously, yeah, we can't take that risk, man. We need to keep the American talent to promote the brand. But even though these American guys are amazing players, CFL, and they put on a show up here, they've been putting on a show for years, and you've seen very, very minimal growth. So obviously something's not working. Obviously, because you should be seeing growth in your league, CFL, and you're seeing very little, no growth. Yeah, as a CFL, the CFL commissioner, they talk about how we're struggling to really attract the Canadian fans in Canada, man. As the CFL peaks at $250 million in revenue, man, and you've been peaking at $250 million every year CFL for years, you're not seeing any growth, man. Yeah, man. Obviously, CFL peaks at $250 million a year for every season and a year in revenue around there. $250 million a year in revenue. CFL peaks at. Yeah. Something's not working, right? Yeah. Fortunately, Caviar. Yeah, the CFO committee will ask me, okay, Ivan, like we've been struggling to grow the league. We're peaking at $250 million every year. Like the league's not growing. You know what I'm saying? We're not growing in television viewership. What do you think? How can we fix this problem? Okay, you guys don't tell me the truth. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Ivan, what? I'm like, yeah, it's the American talent, guys. You've been promoting the Canadian football brand with the American talent when you should be promoting the Canadian football brand with the Canadian talent. But because the CFL is blinded by the American, okay, Ivan, instead of getting, okay, Ivan, what do you want to do? You have to get rid of the American talent. Ivan, we can't do that. It's risky. The quality would dip. Okay, if you don't want to make, I think this is the way forward to grow this league. If you want to grow this league, what is your strategy with more the American talent? You've been doing this for years, guys, with your TSM promo and the CFL panel talk about all these star players. You're not seeing any growth, and no one really cares about them. How do you want to promote these guys? Okay, Ivan, we can do nationwide commercials for these American players. Yeah, but it won't make a difference, guys. Like TSN is when you promote them on your TSN promo, that's nationwide. All eyes are on these players, and the Canadian fans don't really care that much about these guys. So we'll doing national commercials with these American players really work. I think the CFL does do some commercials with some of the guys too. I remember they did a commercial with Travis Lelay, the quarterback for the BC Lions at the time, 2011. It was a cool commercial, but like I didn't really care about it that much because he's American. I don't know anything about this guy. I just don't care that much, right? Flames, and yeah. They do commercials, national television commercials with the CFL stars. Yes, they do, but like they don't. No one really cares, man, because they don't know who these guys are. The Canadians don't know who these guys are. Yeah, they know their names and all that stuff. Yeah, this guy is a CFL star, but they can't resonate CFL these guys because they're American. They're from a different country. They're just guys who happen to come up here from a different country, and they happen to put on a show, and now they're CFL stars, but they're unknowns, and people in Canada don't resonate with them. They don't know who these guys are. Obviously, like they don't really care that much, right? Some Sarah. Yeah. Why do they do commercials with Canadian players? Barely. The only Canadian commercial I think I've seen a John Cornish one. Obviously, they did a national commercial with John Cornish. I think they did one with Andy Fantus, I think, too. But because there's barely any skilled Canadian star positions, you barely see any Canadian star players commercials or TSN promo because all the star players are the American guys. The CFL's not the Canadian guys. And most don't forget most of the starting positions in the CFL are the linemen, obviously, right? Yeah. Yeah. So they do commercials with the American players. Yeah, they do sometimes. Sometimes they do. They'll do like a nationwide commercial, and all eyes in Canada are on these guys, but like no one really cares, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, I'm saying, yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? This receiver is from it plays for the Edmonton Nationals, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Come see these players on CFL, on TSN, or something like that, right? Something like that, right? And yet, like, yeah, it's cool. This guy's a star player, but I don't really care, man, because I don't know anything about this guy. I just know he's a star CFL player. I know his name, but I don't really resonate with him. I don't even know where he came from. I don't really care, right? I don't really care that much about those guys, right? I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. Yeah. Will the CFL ever do this? No, they won't, man. The CFL sees this as a risky move because they're scared of because the quality will dip. Now that it's not as quality football, even if it makes that much of a difference, they're scared because the quality will dip. Less fans in Canada will now be interested in their league, and they can even make less money. They have that fear. They see it as risky. We're only making $250 million a year in revenue. We don't want this thing to go down in revenue, right? So they have that fear, and they also have their bias towards the American talent, obviously. Their bias, obviously, right, towards the American talent. Obviously, that's why they would lock me off. Ivan, you want to get rid of the American talent? Yeah, just like the committee laughed Herbrooks off, right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but what if the CFL markets Nathan Rook? Yeah, guaranteed, man. Or maybe next year. I guarantee you because Nathan Rook has a marketing deal with the CFL. I guarantee you maybe next year. Next year they're probably going to do a nationwide commercial with maybe Nathan Rook because he has a marketing deal with the CFL. They're probably going to do maybe a nationwide commercial with Nathan Rook and everything. But even though the fans are more invested in Nathan Rook because he's Canadian, because they know most of the it won't really make a difference because the fans still know that most of the star players are these American guys. Nathan Rook is just like one like Canadian star quarterback, whereas all the rest of the American players are the star players. So it won't really they'll be more invested in Nathan Rook because he's Canadian, but I mean it won't really make that much. It won't help grow your league CFL. The best way to grow your league, you have to get rid of all the American talent, not just promote like one Canadian star here and all these American players. No, like you gotta promote the heck out of a bunch of Canadian star talent. But you don't see that in the CFL because there's barely any skilled star positions in the CFL. Most of the starting Canadian players in the CFL are the linemen, obviously. So CFL, you can promote Nathan Rook all you want. You're still not going to see much league growth because because most of the star talent is still the American players. Like the you have to get rid of all those guys, man. You have to just focus on the Canadian talent. Obviously. Or increase the ratio starting CFL. Increase the ratio to maybe 11 starting Canadian players. That way you have more Canadian stars. But the CFL will never do that. We can't do that, man. It's too risky. We don't trust the Canadian talent to compete with these more athletic American players. That's why you have to get rid of them. We don't want to worry about that, right? Worry about the racial nonsense in the CFL, obviously. Samsara? Yeah. Oh yeah, for guys, that's cold, man. No, so the CFL doesn't trust the Canadian players can put on. Yeah, the CFL doesn't trust the best Canadian talent to compete with the American talent, obviously, and they don't trust that the Canadian players can put on as good of a show. They don't believe the Canadian players can put on like as good enough quality football to attract the Canadian fans, because they downgrade the Canadian talent. That's why they have all the American guys start up here. That way the fans in Canada are watching better quality football. But they've been putting on a show, CFL, for years, and you've seen very little growth. So they're obviously something's not working, right? Like, you guys are not growing your league. Something is obviously not working. And I believe this is what I believe. I believe it is because the fans in Canada are not resonating with these American players. You know how I know? There's no growth in your league, and when I watch, even though these guys have these American guys put on a show, and they score a touchdown and everything, I don't really care about these guys. I just don't, because I don't even know anything. I don't know anything about these guys, man. They're just random, amazing talent who come from the States who happen to put a show up here. They score a touchdown, I'm saying, they give the ball to the fans and everything, but I don't really care about those guys, man. I don't know anything about these guys, man. They're just random, amazing talent who just come up here from a different country, and they happen to put on a show up in Canada, but I don't know. I'm clueless. I don't know anything about these guys, CFL. I don't know anything about these guys. And the CFL fans don't know anything about these guys either. They don't know anything about these guys. They're clueless. They don't even know where these guys came from. Oh, hey, I'm saying, yeah. Oh, you're such a fucking dick, man. Well, you put us Canadian players down to American players. I'm sorry. No, hey, I'm saying, yeah. Obviously. Anyways, guys, here's where I hope you guys enjoyed the show about the CFL. Stay tuned. I'll make a video tomorrow morning. I'm saying, peace. No, hey, I'm saying.